You are one of the most prestigious business schools in the world and also the oldest collegiate business school. You might sit back on your laurels. Well, that's not the case at the Wharton School. Whether it's tech and innovation, healthcare, finance, of course, retail 4.0, entrepreneurship, the school continues to take the lead on research and providing a world-class business education. Under the leadership of Erica James and the award-winning admissions team led by Blair Mannix, Wharton is also setting the standard for diversity and inclusion. They are the first M7 school to welcome more women and men in the class of 2021, last 2 years ago, and then repeated that last year. I'm delighted to welcome Jake Kohler. After 2.5 years in admissions at UPenn, Jake joined the Wharton School over 4 years ago, initially as an associate director of admissions for the MBA program, and he is now the director of the Ken and Julie Moelis Advanced Access Program. Jake, thank you very much being with us.
Hey, Matt, it's an absolute delight. Looking forward to talking.
Well, you've been at the Wharton School, as I mentioned to our viewers, for over 4 years. And whether it's Philadelphia or the San Francisco campus that you visited, what makes it such a special place for you?
Yeah, I love this question, and I've been reflecting upon it. It's this place where I've seen individuals both ride the ripples of people before them while simultaneously making their own ripples. And I come from a science background, and when I think about the interference that could occur between lots of ripples among such a diverse and huge network of individuals, there's the possibility in physics that there could be disturbance. It would negate some of it. But in my 4 years at Wharton, I've only seen this amplifying aspect, this constructive ripple that extends from those who are both riding, again, those ripples of those before them, as well as creating their own at the same time. And I think that to me is truly a special aspect of the community.
If I take your metaphor of the ripple, Jake, it has that initial moment, perhaps the stone that hits the surface of the water, but how far those ripples can take you. And I suppose that's something, there's the 2 years in the full-time MBA program, but this is an experience that is going to continue to generate that energy for the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly. And again, continuing the analogy, and maybe just one step further, continuing that for an individual's life, but then seeing how that extends around the entire globe and the ripples, just how far they extend across so many different beings. Again, like all of that combined is a special aspect.
Well, you do bring people from all over the world for the full-time program. And now, of course, as the MBA for Executive also extends its global footprint with online modules, and diversity has been a cornerstone of the Wharton MBA experience. How is that reflected in the recent incoming class, but as you look back over the last 3-4 years?
Yeah. Obviously, like our focus is to build a student community that's reflective of the world's richness of thought and identity. And I think there's no better way to describe how that manifests and reflects itself in the campus than describing what it's like walking through Huntsman Hall when I pass a group study room, a GSR after GSR, and I see each learning team of the MBA program, in one GSR, seeing a career military service person paired with an entrepreneur, paired with a consultant, paired with somebody who worked in the public sector for an extended time, individuals who had been around the entire world. They are not in any way reflective of the same background, and the way that they're engaging with one another and practicing and teaching each other skills and improving one another. Then I go to the next GSR and see a totally different set of thought and background and circumstance. And 4 floors of this through Huntsman Hall, all of these GSRs filled with such, again, diversity of thought, background, intellect, passion, and ambition. And observing that through these halls is really, really incredible and is effectively our goal.
Right. I mentioned 51.6% women in the class 2 years ago, and then repeating that. Every year, Wharton, as with other schools, you publish the incoming class profile. It's an impressive data set that talks about the academic strength with average GPAs and GMAT scores, people's academic and professional backgrounds. But perhaps to go beyond that, and just for our viewers, those are averages. and it doesn't then capture the extraordinary. There is no one score. There is no one background. I mean, with your colleagues in admissions, you really are looking, I imagine, to craft the sort of diversity that you're describing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm. Well, you place emphasis on a tight-knit community, and I think with Centre Court, we love to sort of challenge perhaps some of the perceptions that people have. That sense of collaboration at Wharton, how does that impact on both the personal and the professional growth that each student experiences?
Yeah, it's a great question, and there's aspects of being a community in which individuals feel that they belong, that their voice is not only able to be spoken, but that it'll be heard and utilized. And there's so many ways that I can possibly describe that manifesting. In some ways, if I may, I think that it's a really powerful indication of seeing how it manifests even in the Moelis community for our deferred enrollment program, and observing the backgrounds, the engagement among these individuals who currently are in 30 countries around the world, working in their early careers, and utilizing each of their experiences to share with one another in their private Slack community, to share ideas, to have random coffee chats, and this idea of being able to contribute and make each person around them a little bit better and simultaneously be gaining from that as well. I think that tight knit comes from the reciprocal and mutual aspects of this commitment to one another while striving to do really great for themselves.
Right. Wharton will receive many thousands of applications every year to the MBA program, but the Moelis Advanced Access program, perhaps we can start there and tell us who that deferred MBA program, who it's intended for, and if it's appropriate, who it's not intended for.
Yeah. As a director of the program at Wharton, I think that it's available. It's something accessible to basically anybody. But I think to better answer your question and for some guidance, for those who are in their late undergraduate years, or if they're in a full-time master's program, you're about to graduate and you feel technically, maybe tactically prepared for this onset of your career. But there's this indication in your mind that you see greater executive functionality, or you know that at some point you're going to want to have a much broader set of perspectives across industries and functions to have as part of your toolkit. If that interest, if that intrigue of having that executive leadership, or even if not the CEO of a company, but that demonstrated leadership, managerial development is of intrigue, I think it absolutely can be something of interest. To get to the second part, who is it not for? I think if somebody believes that the MBA is going to be a golden ticket for them, the deferred enrollment would just be a golden ticket to do whatever they want 4 years down the line. It's probably not the right choice for them at that moment. It very well could come 4 years from then as they've developed in their career and they then have a better understanding of what's coming. But for those who are, again, current college student, those who, even if they don't know 100% that they're going to go to business school, but are pretty confident, 75% confident that it could be part of their future, it's a great opportunity to start their career with all the benefits that come with being part of a deferred enrollment program.
Well, those benefits, imagining that I'm one of those lucky individuals where you've offered me a place to join Wharton's MBA program 2, 3, 4 years down the road. What does that then open up for them, knowing that that place is secured for them?
Yeah. There's a lot of conversation among my counterparts and my peers at different schools. We've used in many respects the idea of risk taking, this opening of risk taking, and that's a narrow part of it, and that's certainly part that by being able to have access to, in our minds, the world's top business school, knowing that you have that at your disposal a couple years down the road, you certainly have this opportunity. Your floor is set to what we believe is the maximum next step. Even before you start and you have time to navigate. I like broadening. Risk taking is part of what I believe is more broadly a sense of liberty personal and professional liberty. And that's a really empowering thing, especially as a 21, 22, 23 or so year old. You're just starting your career, and by being part of these deferred enrollment programs or being part of the Moelis program, we've been able to cut out some of the potential restrictions that or limitations that you may have in the coming years. You don't need to study for the GMAT or the GRE, again, being one. But we know that the application process takes time and energy, and there's networking just to learn and navigate that process when you're a full-time professional and maybe working 80, 90, 100 hours a week. And by being able to remove some of those barriers, that's more time that those individuals can dedicate to A, themselves as people, B, their careers and opportunities that may exist. And the other side of liberty that it goes just to the broader empowering aspect is when you have this ceiling that's this floor that would otherwise be the ceiling of many others. You have your space in a top business school. You then can decide how you may want to navigate and pursue some of those passion areas and navigate early careers. And I've seen some of the most incredible young men and women make decisions earlier in their career that they've at least articulated to me they wouldn't have been as confident doing. And some of that included just being able to challenge their MD in a particular meeting because they knew that not that relationship wouldn't be important, but that they could challenge that respectfully and add something new and learn in that process. And I've seen others make career changes that they didn't think they could take until after their MBA, but they were able to make that early move to that dream industry or function much sooner. And again, all of that combined, that liberty is so empowering as a young professional.
Well, as a Brit, you can hear from the accent with a no doubt a skewed sense of history. It strikes me that Philadelphia is a great place to think about themes of liberty.
Absolutely.
With a deadline for the Advanced Access Program at the end of April. Talk us through the essentials of the application, including perhaps choices for recommenders, given that applicants, if they are in their senior year of college or in their master's program, they haven't yet started a full-time professional position.
Yeah. Let's start with the recommenders. In our mind, we think that anybody who has seen this student or this candidate in some advisory capacity, so that could be a faculty member, it could be a college advisor or a community leader, it could be a coach, it could be an internship supervisor or research advisor, some individual who has seen you navigate some of the projects and programs that you've been working on and seen both your growth as well as the completion and the pursuit of completion of that project are really good individuals to respond to our prompts. What we're trying to learn is how might you be able to contribute to a very collaborative, analytical, high communicative classroom environment that's going to be constantly engaging with the thoughts and ideas of others as well as your own, as well as see promise throughout your career. And again, as far as the Moelis program is concerned and deferred enrollment, anybody who has observed you in that advisory capacity can respond really thoughtfully to that.
Right. It might be, you mentioned earlier, it's a good time to perhaps take the GMAT or the GRE and then be done with it. Other elements, is there, with younger applicants, early stage, more emphasis on their academic strength, perhaps the holistic view of what you see as great characteristics for applicants to the Advanced Access Program?
Yeah, it's a great follow-up. And in many respects, what we're looking for is very, very similar to what we'd be looking for years later. We don't have several years of full-time work experience, but the experiential learning that individuals have had are really good predictors of what might be coming their way in the future. So in many respects, it's the same things we're looking for of full-time MBA candidates. Certainly the academics play a role. We want to know that you can achieve and do well and learn in our space without being overly challenged. But again, there's a really wide range of academic backgrounds and performance that are part of our community. But I think the differences between the MBA and the deferred enrollment would be obviously you don't have full-time work experience, but the internships or research or fellowship or co-op, those are predictors. They can be good indicators of where you may be heading. That's really informative. And then as far as our essays, we use the same essays as for the MBA program, but our expectation of a college student is not the same. The clarity of goals, not necessary quite in the same way, but the ability to articulate what their current professional orientation is and how they think they might navigate some of these early career opportunities and where the Wharton MBA would align to that development in very much the same way is what we're seeking.
Right. And as part of that application, you place emphasis on making a contribution to the community. So
Absolutely.
if I'm admitted to Wharton, how do Moelis fellows then engage with your Wharton in the years prior to them starting the MBA?
Yeah. So from the moment that they're admitted to the program, we've connected them to a Slack community where they can engage with every other Moelis fellow across all the different cohort years. And that's a small piece. So again, I noted earlier, I think it's about 30 different countries around the world where we have Moelis fellows situated. And, it's a lot of difference in time zones. We wanted to create both asynchronous and synchronous spaces where they can engage with one another. So in each of the different communities, what the Slack channels allow for is those who are in Australia and those who are in China, and I can keep listing off the countries, obviously important, United Kingdom and Britain, as well as parts of the US. Across these time zones, they can centralize each other and they can utilize each other's support. I love seeing the photos that come to me of the brunches that are held in each of these different cities when they've congregated. But in addition to that social side, which we think is really important to have a safe community of individuals who can connect with one another and be of support, there's a professional development side that we care a lot about. And that's ranged from having alumni Q&A sessions. With the fellows, we've had MBA students who are leading different clubs do different workshops with our Moelis fellows as well. During the deferment period, over the course of the year, twice each year, we have our MBA career management team do a broad Q&A session. So we've wanted to give this professional development side that they can utilize live or asynchronously, where they can refer back to. We record a lot of things, hold it in a space that's only available to the Moelis fellows. So again, those who aren't in a time, we don't want them to be staying up at 3 o'clock in the morning for our reasons, at least. They may need to do for a project, and they will finish that, but we want them to have this access to professional development resources. Last year, the final thing I'll talk about, last year we actually created a partnership with Wharton's brand new Wharton Interactive, which is this online simulation opportunity that Wharton's offered, and we've given free access to some of the different simulated course developments, these academically based courses and simulation, so they could engage and learn a new set of skills in that way as well.
Right, so they're already learning and they already have this sort of pre-taste of such a vibrant and supportive Wharton network. I mean, we can look at all of the wonderful figures of post-MBA starting salaries and the ROI on the program, but that network really does make a difference. Give us a sense of scale. Every country in the world, no doubt, but I mean, it really is, has an extraordinary global footprint.
Yeah. So the number of current living Wharton alumni is, I think, 104,000 alumni, which is almost incomprehensible. The number is, you can understand the number, but the extent to that network is so wide, and the connections and the trust in that network continues to extend. So when a Moelis fellow, again, in any country, has asked, I'm trying to connect with somebody, being able to connect them to the alumni club that's based in that area and is a really powerful tool. And I've not yet been unable to say, we have alumni in this space near you that you can connect either in person or virtually. And that trust in the expansiveness of that network is pretty spectacular.
Right, and with so many great ambassadors, it explains why many thousands every year are eager to join the Wharton MBA program. Perhaps one detail for Moelis and the Advanced Access program, if I were to apply, And if I'm not successful, can I then apply in later years without any downsides of having previously applied to the Advanced Access Program?
Yeah, absolutely. Unequivocally, yes, there is zero downside. And candidly, there's, I think, an indirect benefit of having had the exposure, the practice through our process, that only makes you stronger and more capable time around. So the answer is yes.
So walking through those corridors that you were describing earlier, whether in Philadelphia, online or in San Francisco, but just talking to a few Wharton MBA students or recent graduates, and I said to them, so, what have been the memorable, the hallmarks of your experience, things that they remember, sometimes unexpectedly. What do you think they might share?
Yeah. In this question, I'm actually reminded of a conversation that I had last May. A career engineer who had spent his time, most of his pre-MBA career in parts of Africa, came to Wharton. I met him in his interview process and right before the pandemic. And then the next time that we meaningfully connected was the week of his graduation. And he contacted me just to say, like, do you mind connecting for coffee? I would love to share things that have happened. And the pieces that came to me, what he shared was, first and foremost, he expressed gratitude to me as if I played any role in the process. I was a facilitator of a conversation. I just had the luxury, the great pleasure of getting to meet him among many others during that interview process. But he wanted to express gratitude. And that's something that, while I'm thinking about this one individual who I had this coffee chat with at the end, I feel that throughout so much of the community, this sense of gratitude and humility, while recognizing that they did so much in making the place better, and they are so prepared to go to the next stages of their life. Again, this individual in particular, a career engineer who made a pivot and is now working in Chicago at a top firm. And being able to see that, I see the starting point, and I learn the end point. And I know in between that so much happened, and the details that he shared of being part of Follies and the boxing club and being part of the Wharton Graduate Assembly and all these different communities and organizations, that sense of gratitude just permeates, and that the impact and the contribution to make the spaces around them better are really, really profound. So that's one piece. The next item, and it kind of relates to that, is a sense of belonging, especially being in the city of Philadelphia. And I'm biased. I'm born and raised in and around the city of Philadelphia. I've lived here. I've only gotten closer to Center City as I've gotten older. But being in the city where these students congregate and come and move into these similar environments with one another, these similar neighborhoods, sometimes for the first time in the United States at all, sometimes just for their first time in Philadelphia or living in Philadelphia, and being able to use that city of opportunity. We talked earlier about the liberty that's just embedded into the infrastructure of this city because of its history. Utilizing this city for all the best things that it entails and all the best things that are coming out of it, the entrepreneurship that's growing, the various industries and the connections therein. So those are the pieces that come to mind, and those hallmarks of just that warmth, the gratitude, the belongingness, and the opportunity that's built in Wharton and in the city of Philadelphia, and obviously San Francisco as well, for those who take advantage of it.
Right. Well, I'd like to pick up on the gratitude and the sense of belonging, to share my gratitude for joining us at Center Court and how you belong. It's a wonderful fit. I think what you've been able to share with our viewers is of enormous value, and that you should share it with such passion and enthusiasm and warmth. So perhaps my final question for all of our many viewers that are interested in the Wharton MBA program, Advanced Access, or now at still early stages of their career, some of the best ways to connect with you, with your colleagues, with the school, with the alumni. I'm sure you also organize many events. How can they best get in touch with you?
Well, let me first say, let me reciprocate the gratitude of being here, of the invitation to be part of this. It's really a spectacular conversation. I look forward to more in the future. But to get to your question, how do they connect? one of the beauties, like I've seen in the research that we've done and I've heard directly from prospective students, I don't think I'm the best person for them to be engaging with and connecting with. I love doing it. It's truly one of the greatest delights, but the best people to learn from are our current students in the program and the alumni, period. So at any given time, we have a group of more than 55 different admissions fellows, so second year students who have varied lived experiences before their MBA, involved in many different parts of the Wharton experience. They're accessible online through our admissions website. If you go to connect a student on our site, I think it's the most powerful way you can learn about the real aspects of the community. And then obviously the fact that LinkedIn is an amazing tool, use that for the Wharton network abroad as well. And then the last thing, our team does a lot, and especially as the late spring and the summer continues, our focus is trying to connect alumni and current students to prospective candidates around the world. So as we host sessions, we can almost always say we're going to have alumni be a key part of that. So continue engaging there. And if anything comes up in the interim, our team's available. Our contact information online, we want to hear and learn about individuals through their process. But we know that in many respects, we're a handshake to the really amazing people who are part of that network that they're going to grow and thrive in.
Well, your own graciousness is perhaps a great mirror to the sort of characteristics that people can look forward to in the Wharton experience. So whether trying to meet that end of April deadline for the Moelis Advanced Access Programme or planning to apply later this year, Jake, I can only thank you for sharing so much insight and encouragement to our viewers. It was great to have you with us.
It was a pleasure, Matt, and I look forward to doing so again.